Welcome everyone tonight to our City Council meeting on February 5th, 2019. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to ask everyone to please silence all electronic devices. Let's take a moment to reflect. We are thankful for this day that has been given to us, for its opportunities and its challenges. We ask for strength, insight, wisdom, and guidance as we forge ahead, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Amen. This time we recognize our interim city clerk, Beverly Smith.
Members of council, it's my responsibility to remind you of your duty to avoid conflicts of interest. I ask if there are any potential conflicts concerning tonight's agenda items.
None.
Before council is the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda has been adopted. Next is our consent agenda. These items are typically non-controversial. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. Item A, to adopt an ordinance approving the following Traffic Commission recommendations as spelled out in significant detail in your agenda. Item B, to reclassify a police officer 1, level 21, to a lieutenant, level 29, in Professional Standards Division, effective upon approval. Item C, to enter into an agreement between the City of Burlington and Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King LLP to provide required services for the Federal Transit Administration audit. Item D, to approve the compliance criteria for the North Park Pool design, build, delivery. Do I hear a motion to approve the foregoing consent agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent agenda items have been approved. We have one item of unfinished business this evening. City Council will consider an application to rezone from R15 Residential District to CR Conditional Residential District for the use of a 114-unit townhouse development. The properties are located on the north side of Garden Road between Witt Avenue and Boone Station Drive, referenced as Alamance County parcel identification numbers 112523 and 107226. The public hearing was held and closed on January 15, 2019. Consideration was continued from the January 15, 2019 City Council meeting. At this time, we recognize Zoning and Subdivision Administrator Joey Lee.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'd like to give you a review of this rezoning request. This request was to rezone from R15 residential to CR conditional residential for the use of a 114-unit townhome development, two-story townhomes on 18.4 acres. This development will have public streets. Excuse me one second. Let me bring up the plan. This development will have public streets, sidewalks, public water and sewer, 2 parking spaces per unit, a roundabout for traffic calming, connection to existing street networks that improve emergency services and area connectivity. The comprehensive plan calls for residential and commercial use in the area. There's already a good mix of commercial, residential, O&I within the area. The site plan has been approved as a conceptual plan from the Technical Review Committee. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval on a 5-2 vote. As you stated, Mayor, this was continued from the January 15th meeting. Since that time, based on council input, staff has been in contact with the developer, discussing ways to better enhance the property and protect the surrounding property owners. These suggestions included landscaping, building height, and architectural embellishments. In front of you, you have an updated ordinance that reflects those changes. Briefly, sorry, bear with me just just a second. I want to bring up the, this is a rendering that was provided by the developer. This shows the, as stated in the ordinance, under the, some of the revisions, you've got expanded landscaping along the western property line that is going to encompass evergreens that will eventually grow into an opaque, or as opaque as possible, sort of a fencing with, that'll be along the west property line and also the northern property line. This does stop here because there are wetlands on this side, and they have said pretty much if they, first of all, they don't want to disturb that, and if they try to plant anything in there, more than likely it's not going to live. Also, a buffering along the east side, on the other side of this new power line. This is also going to include a buffer with a height of 3 feet. The developer has also consented to a building height of 40 feet as opposed to the 50 feet.
Could you elaborate on that? We learned last night that as an interesting definition of 40 feet. If you could mention that.
Right. The ordinance defines building height as a measurement that's taken at the front of the building. This is a gable roof or an A-frame roof, and that measurement is taken from grade at the front to half the distance between the eave and the peak. It's called the mean elevation. So it's not all the way to the top. It's half the distance between the eave and the peak, and that's how you determine building height. So those are the changes that are in your ordinance, and the developer has agreed to these. So if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer them. The developer, Mr. Lasso, is available if you have any questions for him. You also have in your packet that I gave you, it shows elevations that Mr. Lazo, for units that he has been involved in, projects that he's been involved in. And also the architectural embellishments he's given. There's going to be more brick, 40% of the units will have more brick. And that is spelled out again in the ordinance as far as the conditions.
Joey, do you have those photos that you could pull up on the screen for a minute?
Okay, so these are the units that Mr. Lazo has been involved in, townhome developments. Now, again, some of these, this shows 3 stories, but his development is capped at 2 stories, and again, the 40-foot height. But these are some of the developments that he has been involved in directly. He's a developer, not a builder, but these are projects that he has been involved in.
Joey, could you pick one of these that you think most represents what you've heard the developer share, and then talk about how we would calculate the height? Maybe that last one, if that's a good example, the very last one on the bottom of page 2. Is that a good example of what you think?
It is. These are 2-story with the garage. This is also another example here. And you're looking at, these appear to be 2-story. So your height is going to be measured from grade, again, to half the distance from the eave to the peak.
So the 40 mark in this example, where you had the little hand,
Right in here.
would be roughly half between that window and the top of the A-frame.
Right.
Would be
And this is a
40
better example because it's got a more of a pitch, more of a roof line to it. So there's your eave, and it'd be half the distance between there and the peak.
Thank you, Joe.
Any questions, further questions from council?
Just for clarification, Joey, one of the concerns I had was coming up Collinwood, the units there to the west, I just want to clarify, the individuals, that the homeowners on Whit Avenue would be mostly impacted by those. Now, understanding even current zoning, there would be something going in behind them regardless. That could be 2-story up to 50 foot, I would assume, under existing ordinance. However, if you look at High Garden Circle, the density of the interior of this project is pretty hermetic. It doesn't intrude on very many property owners from that standpoint, as does those units on Collinwood, backing up to those on Whit. And one of the concerns I had with the extra buffering there and the height concerns I had that was shared by some of those during the public comments, are those the changes that the builder made to accommodate? Is that what we're talking about when we say we added extra buffering there?
Yes, sir. If you look right here where all the tree lines are against the property lines, those are going to be the evergreens that will eventually create that opaque visual effect, along with what's required under our normal landscaping requirements. Also, they've also beefed it up in this area around the roundabout, and again, these other areas with buffers and that to protect the other property owners. If you'll see, it's the same thing right here against these property owners with the beefed up buffering landscaping.
Are there additional questions from council? Council has been provided with a set of recommended approval and disapproval motions. Those are included in the extended agenda packet. Do I hear a motion from council?
Mayor, we had discussed, continuing this for a couple of weeks because this information has just been provided. And I think Mr. Owen had asked, he had talked about it, and I certainly think it would be appropriate. And maybe you can hear from Mr. Owen, you're still inclined to need a little more time to...
I'd like to continue this for 2 additional weeks because as we study this and as we get changes from the developer, I think it takes us a little time to comprehend not only for the good of this development, but also how it impacts our adjacent neighbors, who have legitimate concerns. I think we need to take the extra time to make sure that we come up with a project, if we approve one, that fits the community and it's good for our city overall.
So our next council meeting is February 19th. Do I hear a motion to continue?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions regarding the motion to continue this item until the February 18th city council meeting? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. It's 19.
19, sorry, I misspoke. The motion has passed. All right. All right, thank you all for coming. Next on our agenda, we have a staff report for fiscal year 18-19, mid-year finance update. At this time, we recognize Finance Director Peggy Reese.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you tonight. We are going to be going over our 2 primary funds, which are the General Fund and our Water and Services Fund. To begin with, we'll look at the revenues, and I know this is a little bit small, but there's a lot of information out here. Our property taxes and our sales taxes provide 2/3 of our revenues for the general fund. And if we start off with the property taxes, we will see that we are at 97.21% of our budgeted revenues. For fiscal year ending 6/30/18, we collected 98.7%, so we've got about 1.5% to go. And this is traditionally how it runs, because we give a 0.5% discount if the property taxes are paid by August 31st. And therefore, all institutions who all individuals who have to escrow their property taxes, it's the fiduciary duty of the institutions to make those payments by August 31st and take advantage of that discount. So we get a large portion then. And then by January 5th, if the taxes are not paid, then interest and penalties start accruing. And so that's where we get another huge chunk. And then the rest of the year, it's working on those who have not paid. The next line is our sales, other taxes and licenses, but it's primarily our sales tax. We have collected about 45% of this, and that is because there is a delay in companies remit, and then the state doesn't have to get it to us till like 2 months later. And we have collected, but we are seeing a 4.8% increase compared to last year. Our average monthly receipts this year are about 1.1 million. If that trend holds true, we should end up the year around 13.3 million, which is about 943,000 more than our budget. So we are expecting that to be, barring anything unforeseen happen, we should end up favorably for our sales tax. So those are the two biggest revenues that we have. The next item is our unrestricted intergovernmental revenues. This is primarily our utility franchise tax, and we get payments for those in December, March, June, and September. So as of January 31st, we've only received one payment. We have 3 more payments to be received, and so our June 30th earned revenue will not be received until September, so that's an item that we accrue as well. Next, we have our restricted intergovernmental revenues, which are primarily our power bill and our traffic signal revenue. As you can see, we are at 76% for that revenue. We have received both payments of our power bill and a good portion of the traffic revenue. The permits and fees are our building inspection fees, and we're running pretty much on course with that, 56%. Our sales and services, our recreation fees, our sanitation fees, and fees for animal services, we're running pretty much on course for that. And so we are year-to-date at 70% for total revenues.
Peggy, let me ask you a question. The original budget and then the revised budget.
Yes, sir.
On the restricted intergovernment power bill, for example, that's an increase of about $400,000. Is that not correct?
Yes, that is primarily made up of the $100,000 grant from the biotech with LabCorp, $85,000 for the North Carolina Housing Agency, and then Impact Elements gave us 2 grants, $125,000 for North Park and $50,000 for the mobile unit. So those are the primary budget amendments for that line item. The other two, there are 3 other big budget amendments. The proceeds from installment financing, that's our general financing for each year, so that's that $2.1 million. And then in the appropriated fund balance, there are 2 big budget amendments there. One is the carry forward from last year, so those that are items that we have issued POs for, but they were not completed by June 30th, or the goods were not received by June 30th, so we carry them forward. That's $1.2 million. And then the other one is $1.3 million for the Burlington Stadium. So those items right there are the majority of our budget amendments for the general fund this year. And so the installment proceeds financing, it has a revenue, but it's matching it's got capital expenditures matching in the expenditures below.
Okay. For 7 months, we should be at about 58.3
3% of expenditures, and for the most part, we are there. Information technology, police, fire, public works are a little bit over that, and that's primarily due to capital expenditures. Police vehicles, we have to order as soon as we get the capital lease financing done because it takes so long to get them. So when we order items like that, we are issuing POs, so that encumbers those funds. If you look at the very bottom line, debt service, we're at 80%, but that's just due to the timing of the debt payments, and we've incurred those, and we only have like one more debt payment to make, so that's why that's at 80%. One other line item I'll point out, kind of in the middle, general administration, it looks like we're at 97%, but that is because the Water Resource Services Fund reimburses the general fund $2.3 million, and we do not make the journal entry to move those funds until the end of the year because of our debt covenants on the water and sewer revenue bonds. So that number will continue to go up and may even exceed 100% until June 30th when we make that final entry to move the funds.
When you say end of the year, June 30, 2019?
Sometime in June.
Right, okay.
Okay. We'll now look at the water and sewer fund. Again, we should be at roughly 58%, and if you'll notice that our water sales and our sewer charges are at 48 and 54%, this is because we have an accrual at the end of the year. Usage in June, the meters are not read till beginning July, and they're not billed until July, so we have every year in, we accrue those revenues to the prior year, to the June 30th, 18, and then we're reversing them out, so this is about 1 month behind. If there are any questions on revenues, so overall total revenues, we're at 52%, but I feel like we're on course. If you look at the expenditures, again, all the budget amendments here are carry forward. That $830,000 is all carry forward from projects that, again, were not completed by June 30th of 18. So we made a carry forward amendment in July to bring those projects forward. Overall, we're at 42.6%. Again, if you'll look at the debt line, debt service, we're at 99.97. We pretty much have made all our debt payments. If you look at water, the very top line, water building admin services, that's at 9%. But again, that is because that's where the $2.3 million is charged, and it hasn't. We won't move that until the month of June. And again, if there are any that are over, there are 58%. It's again due to capital purchases or POs being issued for capital projects, like the sewer and line maintenance and repair, the South Burlington waste treatment plant, and the East Burlington, well, that one's right there on the money.
Any questions from council regarding this report?
Just one, on page 1 under the department summary, for the budget amendment under recreation, it looks pretty high. Does that have the carousel money included in that?
No, that is the Burlington Athletic Stadium.
All of that?
No, 1.2, almost 1.3 million of it is. It probably also has the $125,000 for the North Park from Impact Elements, the $50,000 for the mobile unit. So those 3 items are the big pieces.
Any other questions from council? That concludes our formal agenda. We had no one sign up for public comment this evening. That moves us to council comments. Are there any council comments that folks would like to share? I will mention.
I'll just say one thing. I am your representative to the Alamance Community Services Board, and they meet every other month, and in this last month, they were looking for volunteers to be on that board. So if you know anyone who would like to provide some public service,
What day and time do they meet?
They meet on a Monday, usually the first, not the first Monday, because I couldn't go.
That's all right.
Let me get back to you. I'm not exactly sure. But they're looking for people in the community or people in business. So if you know of anybody who's looking for a good volunteer activity, they only meet about 4 or 5 times a year. And it's certainly a worthy organization. And then, anybody else?
Just a couple announcements. So next week is Burlington's birthday. We can no longer run around and say Happy Quasquecan Centennial anymore. So it will be our 126th anniversary on Valentine's Day next week. There's a whole lineup of events planned for downtown to both celebrate Valentine's Day and our city's birthday, so we hope you all check those out and attend, including the unveiling of a new sculpture called the Lovelock Sculpture in downtown on the 14th. So exciting things to check out. And then the big one, you may have seen the article in the paper this morning, I believe, about the Cookiegram program to support Cops Care. This is the first time that we've ever opened this program up to the whole community. It's just for our city employees. But everyone is welcome to purchase a Cookiegram for $1. There are a number of places around the community that folks can purchase those, including the police department headquarters, the fire station headquarters, City Hall right here, the Rec and Parks building at City Park, the City Annex building over on Maple Avenue, Animal Service building, Public Works, Water Resources, and most importantly, you need to order by February 12th so they can make sure they get those out to folks. So, Chief, anything you want to add on that?
Just, it's a wonderful cause, right? It's going to go for buying Christmas toys for kids, so please support the program.
Yeah, no, we appreciate y'all opening that up to the whole community to participate in. Couple quick other ones. There'll be free HIV testing in partnership with Alamance Cares and Cone Health on February 20th over at Mako Bigelow Center. And then City Council has scheduled their retreat for March 8th here at City Hall. Any other council comments?
Yeah, I like to, Jeff mentioned the Christmas activities. I'm not sure we covered this since in our meetings, but to compliment both police and fire for all they did and before the holiday season with a number of young people that meant an awful lot, I know, to them and their parents.
Thank you.
We talk about trying to touch kids early. That's a real opportunity there to try to touch some of these kids early.
Thank you very much.
Next on our agenda this evening, we do have a request for a closed session regarding performance evaluations. Do I hear a motion regarding our closed session?
Now I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318, 11A6, to discuss the periodic performance evaluations of City Manager Hardin Watkins and City Attorney David Huffman.
Second.
Any questions regarding the motion as read? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is passed. Council will enter a closed session. Will return when complete. Thank you all. Yeah, absolutely. Did you get it? It actually is my size, so really not.